Welcome to the Back to Brick Property Podcast. I'm your host, David Lamb. On this podcast, we'll be stripping property investors and business people alike back to brick to find out how their journey can help you on your journey.
This podcast is brought to you by Orange Sales and Lettings. If you know someone that is looking to sell or let a home, please get in touch. Referral fees are available. Terms and conditions apply.
Right, welcome to episode 19 of the Back to Brick Property Show. I'm your host, David Lamb. Today's show is sponsored by Orange Sales and Lettings. I'm delighted today to have a good friend of mine, ELLIOTT BABBS, on the show. He's a property investor from the UK, currently residing in Dubai. Welcome, ELLIOTT. How are you doing?
Thank you, mate. Yeah, very well. How you been?
Yes, very well, pal. Thank you. Very well.
Good.
Nice and warm over there?
Yeah, it's nice and warm now. 2 weeks ago, it was horrible and warm. It's kind of the opposite to the UK, where summer's tough, mid-40s, everyone kind of escapes for a while, and now just back into it. So, yeah, it's good.
Brilliant, mate. Yeah. I've only ever been over there in November or January, so it's been pleasant both times, sort of like 25, 26.
I remember, mate, we had a good night out.
I don't remember much about that, to be honest, mate. Yeah. I remember being with you, but that's about it. I think I was trying to forget most of it. No, it was a good trip, that one, to be fair. So yeah, I mean, I know lots about you, mate, but for our listeners, sort of let's go back to brick, mate. Let's go to the beginning and find out all about you. How did life begin initially?
Life began in Harlow, Essex. Was born and raised there up until the age of 18. Had a fairly normal childhood. Managed to keep myself out of trouble most of the time. I was playing football as well from a very young age, so that kind of kept me on the straight and narrow, something to focus on as a kid. That ended at the age of 18. Moved into London very quickly after that. That whilst Essex and Harlow will always have a fond place in my heart, I think I knew deep down it wasn't the place for me forever, and I wanted to kind of move on and do something, which may be why I'm here in Dubai now. But London was the next step, and yeah, moved there from a young age and got into property from a young age as well, really.
Yeah. So how old were you when you got into property?
I was 23.
Right.
23.
And where did that sort of come from? Why property?
Do you know what? I always think when people make a big life change, it's either to run towards something or away from. And for me, it was a bit of escapism, really. So as I mentioned, I was playing football, 4 knee operations by the age of 18. That's going to come to a very early end. I went into a job. I was working for a telecoms company. So we were selling phone systems to businesses, and I absolutely detested it. And thought, fuck me, is this the plan for the rest of my life? So a few years passed, kind of feeling sorry for myself, ticking along. And yeah, it was just a realization that I needed to do something different. The path that I was going down, I wasn't particularly happy with. I wasn't enjoying my life. Wasn't really sure what the end goal was. So I actually think, looking back, it could have been other things, may not have been property, but property seemed the right thing at that time. And it was just that realization that getting into it, particularly at a young age, would enable me to get to where I wanted to be versus the path that I was taking at the time.
Yeah. So how did property even become? How did you even identify property as an asset class to invest in? Was it TV programmed? Was it something?
Yeah,
conversation you'd had.
It was a Facebook ad. I mean, the algorithms are good, aren't they?
Yeah.
Facebook ads led me down the route of property training. And like, I know we've spoken about this, maybe not even together, but I've heard, your kind of thoughts on it as well. And, for some people, it's a huge help. For some people, maybe there's other ways to do it. But I was 23, Dave. I had no experience in property. I'd never owned a house where I lived. I was renting. I just needed all the help I could get. So Facebook ad, clicked on it, ended up at a property training event, spent a load of money that I didn't have at the time. I actually got don't know if I can say this, I got a loan out for home improvements at the time.
Oh God, yeah.
In order to fund the training, and never looked back, really. I think because of that financial commitment that I made on money that I didn't really have, I'd almost burned the bridges. There wasn't this is getting a bit hard now. It's quite tricky. I'll just go back into, what the previous plan was. It was, I just had to get on with it. I had to crack on. And you'll know probably better than anyone, there's challenges along the way, right? It's not easy and it can be difficult, but I do think when you do have that motivation to just keep pushing on and on and on, ultimately you get to a point where you look back and go, actually, look what I've achieved over the last 6 months, 2 years, 10, close to 11 years for me now.
Yeah. No, I love that. I love that attitude, and you sort of gone all in with money you haven't that you didn't have to hand, and that that forces you to push on. You're obviously a very motivated guy anyway. But I know a guy at my gym actually who's just bought a Ferrari. He's just bought a supercar. He's been on about it for a couple of years, and he can't afford it. And he openly says he can't afford it. He's really stretching himself, but he says he'll make more money because he has the payments to make. Which, it's that's just absolutely mental. I mean, it's beautiful, this car, but it's mental for me. But sort of same principle, you've gone in with 2 feet.
100%.
Kind of, you have to do it then, don't you?
It's the balance, right? You want to make sure that you can sleep at night. Generally, you may have a couple of sleepless nights, of course, but you want to make sure that you can sleep at night, that you're happy, that you're healthy, that motivation and drive is done in a way that you're happy with who you are and what you have, but you always strive for more and want more. And I've gone through stages where maybe I haven't invested as heavily. I've just kind of rested on my laurels and slowed down for a bit. And that's great. Look, it's important for, your long-term planning, but that gets boring as well. I'm a big believer in, you do have to stretch yourself and push yourself, and it's exciting, right? It's what gets me going, really.
Yeah, for sure. So where does that entrepreneurial spirit come from? Is anyone in your family that's sort of had their own business or have been into property themselves?
Not in property. I'm kind of, I guess, the black sheep in that one. It's quite interesting, actually. My dad was, he found out about how much I'd invested in training a couple of years after, and wasn't particularly happy with that decision I'd made. Fast forward another 6 years, and he's then asking me how to get into property, and he's actually building his portfolio at the moment, right? So that was a kind of interesting mindset shift. My dad was a business person, or is a business person. It's funny, I don't see myself as entrepreneurial. I wouldn't consider myself necessarily in that sense. I'm just someone that's driven. I get bored easily, so it is about finding the next thing, doing the next thing, growing and building. I think maybe the discipline side of running a business comes from sport from a young age. I think there's a lot of transferable skills actually in that sporting world that you can take into business. People don't really maybe understand so much. So look, I think it's always a mix of different things, right? You try and take the best bits from your different parts of your life, and how can you package that in a way that you can then go on and be successful.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I think sport's a massive thing. Like you said, playing at obviously a very high level like you did, there's a lot of discipline involved in that, and training every day, and just being in and around teams and socially, it advances you massively as well. A lot of my connections now, even to this day, in business and property, even from people I played cricket or football against or with when I was a kid. It stands you in good stead, doesn't it? Yeah.
It's for me, I mean, maybe a little side kind of story here, but I really feel that it should be part of people's sporting careers more so, whether that's financial investments, whether it's property investing, because I'm 33 now. I've got friends that did make it, that maybe made it at lower league football. They'd have had a good living, they've earned good money, but not money to retire on at 35. And their CV currently says left school at 16, professional footballer up until the age of their mid-30s.
To be fair, mate,
where do they go from there?
Yeah, you'd probably still get a game now for West Ham, though, to be fair. Sorry, mate, I had to get it in.
I had to get it in there. Yeah, you've been waiting for that, haven't you? Yeah, I probably would, to be fair. I probably would, yeah. Just waiting for the call up.
Spurs fan. I know, yeah. So you've done the property.
North London accent.
Oh yeah, it is. Yeah, it gets me everywhere, mate. So you've done the property course. You've spent a fortune. You're feeling probably a little bit edgy about what's to come.
Yeah.
Having invested such a massive amount of money. So Was there a specific strategy that stood out to you in the training that you thought, right, that's for me?
Yeah, it was, and it was kind of the one that is maybe boring to people who are a little bit further ahead or advanced or got bigger pots of capital to play with. But I was no longer skint Dave. I was beyond skint because now I was in the minus as opposed to zero. So I had to start with simple stuff. Buy to lets made sense. Everything was new to me. It sounds ridiculous. I didn't know that you needed a solicitor to buy a property. I remember speaking to a mate and going, I might use a solicitor for a property. And he's like, what do you mean? Like, has to be bought with a solicitor. So I was at absolute entry level. So buy to let made sense. It was going to be a learning curve. I needed to raise some capital in order to do the deal. My first property was actually a 3-bedroom terraced house in Liverpool, in Old Swan, bought for £66,200. I increased my offer by 200 quid to get it over the line. So see it on Rightmove, just a really unusual number, 66,200. But it was awesome, right? You kind of, when you go through the process and you buy it, and it was, the stuff that I know that you've done yourself as well. You buy something, you add value to it, refinance, pull out a chunk of the cash and go again. And I think once you've been through that whole cycle once, you then just got the belief that, okay, this actually is a thing. It's not made up. And, that, I think that was really the turning point, the realization that I could actually scale this and grow the business.
And what were the numbers on that one? Do you remember that you bought it for 66,200?
66,200. The refurb, it was $4,000, which, I mean, you can't get a kitchen for $4,000 now. But
No.
so actually the background on it was it was an investor. They were based in Ireland. Remember it really well, actually. They'd renovated the kitchens and the bathrooms. They'd run out of money. They just couldn't get that $4,000 together, and they ended up selling it. So we got it at a good price. Spent $4,000 on it, which, because all the expensive parts had been done, it was more just flooring, painting, decorating. Remember the refinance value now. It worked out about a 55% return on the capital that I left in the deal.
Yeah, superb.
And that was it.
That was pretty exciting. Then it, like you said, it's from that point on, it's a genuine thing, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly.
So why Liverpool then?
I think at the time for me, I done the numbers, had a look at different areas. I'm someone, again, and this is where I say maybe I'm not that hardcore entrepreneur. I'm a huge believer in, you got to enjoy yourself along the way. So we'd narrowed it down to a few areas, but me and my girlfriend, my now wife, but my girlfriend at the time, we liked going up there. So, you'd work all day, Monday to Friday. We'd get the train up there on Friday night or early Saturday morning, do a whole day of viewings, Saturday and Sunday, to then come home. If you're going to be working Monday to Friday, which is important during that transition period, you don't want to jump ship too quickly. You got to try and enjoy it as well. So we go for a nice bit of dinner, we'd have some drinks. So yeah, it made sense from a numbers perspective, which is the priority, by the way. I'm not saying just go and invest in places that you like going to.
Well, no, I mean, you've since invested in Middlesbrough, so that's that theory out the window.
Yeah, absolutely. I've actually never been there, funnily enough.
Have you not?
No.
You're a lucky man. No, I'm only joking.
Just had a good guy that could help me out with some
yeah,
I've heard
he's a top lad. Yeah. So did you then continue with the buy-to-lets from there? Did you just try and push the BRRs out?
I did, and then you start getting to a point where, and it's terrible to say really, but it gets to a stage where a deal that's making you £200 a month kind of loses its relevance or excitement. So you start having to scale it up. It was at a time where there was a lot of changes in the market as well. So stamp duty, the additional 3% surcharge had just been added. So the market was slow. So we started to then pick up small portfolios. So landlords that are maybe getting fed up with the changes, just wanting to offload. We're managing to pick those up at some good prices. Then we moved into the HMO area. So buying terraced houses. We changed area at that point. We felt at the time that the HMO market just didn't really work for us in Liverpool, just down to the numbers. So we moved a bit further south, kind of Northamptonshire. bought terraced houses. And again, you try and find your niches, right? So in this area of HMOs, there was a lot of people buying properties, turning them into 5 or 6 bedroom HMOs with 1 or 2 bathrooms. Then all of a sudden having problems with voids, challenges with tenants. We went higher spec, 4 bedroom, 4 bathroom properties, which then attracted good quality tenants. We have to this day, like 98% occupancy rate.
Brilliant.
And you get good rental income from that as well.
Yeah. So how many HMOs have you accrued over the years?
So we've probably got around, I always do it in rooms, probably 35 rooms, maybe 35
Yeah.
rooms split across.
And you've still
Traditionally
retained.
4 beds. Yeah, 4 beds mainly. So, and then a couple of larger ones. So we did a deal we did last year actually, which was a care home that had failed. The owner of the care home, he actually had 2 care homes. So thankfully there was a couple of people still living there. They realized that the business was going to fail or go under. He had a care home down the road, moved the residents of that care home into that one, sold that, which was it was just a pretty cool thing to do as well, because actually if this care home failed, then the other one has problems, and then all of a sudden all these residents have to find somewhere miles away. So it was, I like doing the deals where there's a bit of a win-win as well.
Yeah, for sure.
We turned that into, was going to be a 10-bedroom HMO. We had some challenges with planning on the way, so we turned that into an 8-bedroom HMO. And we now rent that out to the local council on a assured guaranteed rent scheme, where they also cover the utilities and the bills as well. So it's very, I like the deals now where I know what my costs are, I know what my income is, and it just gives you a pretty fixed profit every single month.
That's brilliant. Yeah. I'm glad you've mentioned that, because you hear about these deals on social media and they do sound sort of unicorn deals, but the fact that you sat here talking about actually genuinely doing one very recently as well. Are they very difficult to find, those deals, in your opinion?
Yeah, you have to be careful, right? Because the fixed income model is great when you go down that route of kind of doing the thing yourself. I do see people offering, I've had it offered to me many times, do you want to invest in this project? It's got a 5-year guaranteed contract on it. And, my advice would be is, just make sure that you're buying the property at the value of the property, not the value of what the contract is added onto as well.
Yeah.
I've also seen some where actually it looks like you're buying the house. You're not even buying the fucking house. You're buying the contract.
Right, bloody hell.
Just with all of this stuff, you have to look at it with a keen eye.
Yeah,
but you're right. In terms of doing the, in terms of those deals where you bring in all of those pieces together, they're not unicorn. You can find them, but it's just about who do I go to find a care home, as an example. So we had an agent that could find that. Who do we go to determine that the property can be made into a HMO? Okay, well, we'll make sure we've got the architect there. Who's going to do the refurb? We're bringing the build team. Who do we speak to at the council? And it's just, as a business owner, you're actually not doing anything. You're just bringing all the people who are very good at what they do together, and that's how you create a deal.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, just coordinating, aren't you? And a lot of these guaranteed income deals, a lot of them social housing based, that have been brought to me over the years. You nailed it. The numbers look amazing, headline numbers. And then when you look into the prices that you're actually paying for the property, you're paying sort of 25, 30% above market value. From day one, you're in negative equity. All right, the cash flow is great.
Yeah.
But it just doesn't sit right with me.
I completely agree. The whole benefit of investing in property is you are investing in something that's backed by the asset. But if you're paying more than the property's worth, that all of that figure above is risk. And for me, that's not really what property is about. I mean, you see it. Anyone that says cash only on those properties, that will tell you everything you need to know.
Yeah,
cash only because it can't be mortgaged because the lender's going to say that property is not worth what you're paying for it.
Exactly. Yeah, for sure. Yeah. So what were your biggest challenges in those early days when you're starting to buy those buy-to-lets? I know you still retain quite a few of those buy-to-lets, don't you?
Yeah, I tried to hold as much as I can. I've, maybe sold a few bits off. Again, look, you have to roll with the punches and be adaptable. So, when we first started investing, Clause 24 wasn't a thing. So everything was being owned in personal name. Then we had to
Showing
look
your
at
age,
a limited company. Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. So, those personal name properties, it actually made sense to offload them over a period of time. So I don't want to go down a whole kind of tax rabbit hole here, but utilizing my capital gains allowance each year, selling them for profit, not really paying a huge amount of tax on that, and then use that to reinvest and go into a limited company structure. Challenges, like, to be honest, it was probably internal. It was like, it's not normal for a 23-year-old. Look, some people start way younger as well, by the way, but it's not generally normal for a 23-year-old to go out and start buying property. You get a lot of negativity around that. You get a lot of people telling you're a bit mental. The Southerners don't understand why people would go to the north. So what do you mean you're buying in Liverpool? Why are you buying Liverpool? Well, actually, it's a lot friendlier than Essex. So plenty of reasons. So I think really it was, obviously the lack of knowledge is an obvious one, but the internal battles. Yeah. Can I do this? Am I good enough? I'm going out and investing in property, starting with very little capital. Just kind of getting out of my own way, I think, was the biggest kind of challenge over those first couple of years, maybe even longer than that.
Mm. And as you've sort of scaled up and gone through your property journey, is that a feeling that you've had to deal with it each time you stepped up to the next level, as it were? Have you
Yeah.
dealt with that sort of imposter syndrome?
Yeah, 100%. It's funny because you kind of have your comfort zone, if you like. It's like your bubble. Then you get beyond that, but you never kind of break through that comfort zone. All you do is just stretch it a little bit further. So then you go and buy another buy to let, and you're not asked, right? You feel comfortable about that, but then you go and do a HMO and go, right, okay, refurb isn't £4,000 anymore. The refurb's £70,000. I'm dealing with investor money. I'm talking about when their capital is going to be returned. The refinance needs to stack up how I need to make sure that the building control is signed off. So there's all these different pieces that you haven't dealt with before that just give you those little niggling doubts, really. And that imposter syndrome, I think, is a good word for it. So yeah, like every time you stretch, and that's inside and outside of property, just in life in general. If you are going to stretch yourself and push yourself, you have to accept that there's going to be some times where you feel uncomfortable along the way.
Yeah. And it's a good sign. I'm the same, and I think I find that uncomfortable feeling a good sign. It means you're growing, doesn't it? It means you're progressing.
100%. Yeah, 100%.
So you touched on investor finance there.
Yeah.
I wanted to ask you about that. But from day one, how were you financing your first buy to let, then the portfolios, the HMOs? Was it
Yeah.
your savings, or were you using Angel from day one?
Even from the first deal, there was angel finance, because the reality is that if I funded that first deal, which wasn't a lot of money, I think it was, 66 grand purchase, plus your 4 grand refurb, bits and pieces, you're probably only putting in 25 grand into that deal. We'd saved up a little bit, and then we used an investor, it was my friend's dad, put in £10,000 or £15,000 just to top it up, which again was, you have these moments, don't you? I know you would have experienced this as well, but you have these like little light bulb moments, or, oh, actually, fuck, this works. And when you raise your first pot of cash and someone goes, yeah, I'm interested in that, and yeah, I'm interested in the return you're going to offer me, you go, okay, right, actually, it is a thing. So it was forced on us to raise money from the beginning, but at the same time, I'm glad that we never got reliant on our own pot of capital. We're in a position now where we can fund our own deals, but then we start doing bigger deals that we can't fund. So it's just about stretching and pushing every step of the way, really.
I find that interesting, because I find that the one thing that you guys that have done extensive property training is the confidence in using an angel from an early point.
Yeah.
I was so many years into my property journey before I even thought about using angel finance. I was scared to have that conversation with anyone. But with you guys that have done the training, you seem to have confidence in that. Must be drilled into you in the training to do that.
Yeah, 100%. I think, look, if you got people ask me and they go, "Look, Elliot, I've got my own fund. Should I use my own funds to the deal, or should I always raise money?" And I think you're right. It is instilled, but actually, if you've got a pot of cash there and it's ready to go, don't be afraid to utilize that, because borrowing money has a cost. It's about how can I utilize other people's capital to leverage that portfolio to scale the business. And if you're in a position where you're fortunate enough to have an element of both, then you're showing you've got skin in the game. Once we had property experience and we were putting some of our own money into the deals, it can then help you go and raise more money anyway. And so, yeah, it's one of those things that I don't think it will ever feel natural. And it's certainly something that just is foreign. But for necessity, it comes down to how bad you kind of want to step on and get to the next level. It will become part of your property investing. The wealthiest people in the world borrow money, right? So I think there's this kind of stigma to it about asking to borrow capital. Guess what? The banks do. They'll borrow your money and they'll lend it out at 28% to someone on a credit card, and they'll pay you 0.5% for the privilege.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, look like likes of Trump. He's got billions of dollars sat in the bank, but when he does any kind of development project, he uses somebody else's money. He never uses his own cash, even that level.
100%.
That level.
He's a great example. Richard Branson, he's more, I mean, he does borrow money, but it's more about the way that he structures deals. So he leased the planes when he started Virgin. So all of these very successful entrepreneurs and business people got very comfortable with the idea of raising funds or offering deals on planes where they don't put any money down, when they have the capacity to do so, because it de-risks it. So I think it's something that people should get comfortable with.
Yeah. So if your angel investors continue to be sort of friends and family, people close to you, or I know you're quite active on social media, have you attracted angel investors through that method?
Yeah, I mean, look, family and friends is a great starting point, because, even if they don't necessarily have full trust in you, they kind of do it because you've got that relationship, right? It's then expanded further out. Having had 4 knee operations, there's not many sports I can play now, Dave. So I'm big into golf. So golf course, great place to speak to people. You're stuck with them for 4 hours. You play with them midweek at the golf club where you have to spend a bit of money to be there. And you're in and around the right people. And I think this is what I've always said to people is the great thing about property and the bad thing about property is everyone has an opinion on it. So if you start saying, I'm a property investor, this is what I do, et cetera, it's never really the end of the conversation. When I said I work for a telecoms company, that was it. Where do you go from there with the conversation? So it's you're not having to force it down people's throat, but let people know what you're doing. For sure. People have a genuine interest. People are looking for stuff. They're going to put their money somewhere. They're going to put it in the bank where they feel it's safe and secure, but actually doesn't give them any return. They're going to chase the dream and maybe put it into something, a certain crypto coin because they've seen it grow by 1,000% in a week. Or they're going to maybe do something in between those two where they've got a good level of security, stability, and probably a better return than they'll get anywhere else for not doing a lot of work. So, I mean, you're probably the same. It's just about the attitude of, I'm not asking that person for money. I am offering this person an opportunity to get a better return than they're currently getting. And for some people, they want to do it, and some people they don't. And, I think it's Gordon Ramsay said, don't take things personally, take it professionally. Yeah, if someone says no to investing in my business, not because they hate me, it's because whatever I've put forward to them, or maybe they do hate me, I don't know, it could be that as well. But whatever I put forward just doesn't work for them at that time, and that's cool.
Yeah, for sure. On to the next one.
Yeah, 100%.
So along the journey then, Elliot, is there a property deal that stands out as your favourite? It doesn't necessarily have to be the most lucrative, but is the one that stands out and you think, I'm glad I got that one over the line?
I think I would say the first of each deal type, if that makes sense. So I know that's not one deal, but the first deal is just, as I said, the realization that actually this works, actually I can do it, gives you that belief and confidence. Then when you start to push on and you're doing, HMO as an example, get that first one over the line, commercial conversion, get it over the line, because, once you've done it once, it's just about, yes, adapting and tweaking and improving, but you've got the concept, right? You've got something that is tried, tested, and worked, and it just becomes way easier. It's easier because providing you've dealt with the right contractors, which we haven't always got right, provided you dealt with the right contractor on your first project, you use them again. Are you working with a sourcing agent who found you a great deal? Great, you work with them again. Have you got angel investors who are now happy with the returns? Great, they either reinvest or top up the capital that they've put in. You've kind of trailblazed for yourself, and now you're in a position to just kind of scale it up. So yeah, in answer to your question, I'd say the first of each strategy, I think, is just the one that opens up the opportunity.
Yeah, makes a lot of sense. So on the flip side of that, then, mate, the biggest nightmare that you've experienced in your journey so far.
Oh, fucking, how long we got? We've dealt with probate sales which have fallen through because the probate wasn't right. We've had contractors go over budget, over time. We've worked with the wrong letting agents where the portfolios, as an example, my attitude with the portfolio, and this was the naivety on maybe on the first deal we did, buy the portfolio and just leave it as it is. Use the same letting agent, just collect the rent. Now, there's a reason why that landlord sold that portfolio, right? So instead of me thinking, well, actually, what are the problems here? Where are the bits that it can be improved? I just bought it. Right, let's move on to the next. So that was certainly a learning curve. So we've got through a lot of agents. We've gone through a lot of builders, contractors. I've bought during Brexit, where people said everyone was going to leave the country and there was going to be no tenants left. Which
I remember reading that.
Yeah. I bought during COVID, so we were 1 week away. Actually, this might be a cool one to share because it's just about structuring deals in different ways. So we had a property that we was going to buy as a HMO. 1 week away from completion, the world stopped. Now, we hadn't gone into full lockdown, but lenders basically rescinded all of their offers. So we had a bridging loan that was about to go on that, couldn't complete. So we go to the seller, who was speaking with him directly. He said, look, a couple of options here. We just sit and wait until the world goes back to normal. We pull out of the deal, or we do something called an exchange with delayed completion. So we'll exchange on contract still. We'll pay you, I think it was 10% at the time. We'll pay the 10%. At that point, we don't have lending at the moment because it's been rescinded. So we're going to extend that by 12 months. And then that you've got the certainty that we're going to buy the house. We're going to let the world come back to normal because lenders need to lend, right? We had confidence that at some point in 12 months, a bank cannot just stop lending money. And we'll buy the property within 12 months. Where it become quite cool is we got something called keys undertaking. So we took the keys on exchange. Sorry if this is going a little bit technical, but hopefully we can understand the concept. So you then secure the keys on exchange. We get our builders to go in and complete the renovation as a HMO. The benefit of that being is that then you go to buy the property, you don't need bridging finance anymore because the property is complete. So you can put it on a mortgage straight away, and you don't have any holding costs where, your 3 or 4 month renovations taking place. We actually had the property marketed before completion, had 4 tenants lined up. The day we bought the property, 4 tenants move in the next day, and it's cash flowing straight away. So it's just about the approach and how to look at it. You could very easily walk away from that and go, how unlucky am I? I'm about to invest in property and the world's just shut down. And you go, well, what's the alternative? I hate
Oh, it's
walking away
brilliant,
from a
mate.
deal, mate.
Yeah, I'm the same, mate. I'm exactly the same, and I love that you're obviously thinking on your feet and you've got it over the line. How did you mitigate the obvious risks that came with doing that? I mean, obviously, was it just a case of
Yeah.
telling your solicitor crack on? Did he have any experience, the solicitor, in doing a similar deal?
Yeah, I mean, look, so if you're buying something and you're exchanging, you're delaying completion and you don't have funding in place, there's always the risk of not having the finances to complete. And actually, you see the same with off plan as well. So if someone buys an off plan property, solicitor will say, you haven't got a mortgage in place, which is understandable because it's not completing for 2 years' time, as an example. But you're running that risk. It's just about managing it, mitigating it. I think the key one for us is where we were so comfortable with raising funds on that one is, well, we get 12 months down the line and no banks are lending. We've got a brand new HMO that we've complete. It's now well below market value because we purchased it in its current condition. We've done the refurb. We'll just raise the cash. We'll just buy it in
Yeah,
cash if we need to, or bridging finance, or we'll find a way to make that happen. We made sure we had a long enough period because that refurb was complete within 4 or 5 months. So we then got this whole period of time where if we hadn't have got lending, we could have gone and raised the money to do it.
mhm,
Thankfully, the world has come back to normal, and we actually completed on that property within 6 months instead of waiting the full 12.
brilliant. Yeah, I
Yeah.
mean, it seems a lifetime ago now, but there was so many deals falling through at that time, and a lot of them were
Mm.
down that they would get the property cheaper 6 months down the line. So the fact you just smashed on with it and obviously the deal worked out for you, mate. So brilliant.
Look, it's when the it's when the best deals are done, right? Is when
Yeah,
people have this negativity, and it's funny because being based over here in Dubai, it's a hot market over here. Everyone's pumping money in, the properties are increasing in value. Elliot, why are you investing in the UK? You've got change of
yeah,
government, political instability. You've got all of these additional fees. There could be higher tax, all this kind of thing. I think, yeah, great, because guess what? All of the deals that disappear when everything's going swimmingly and the market's positive, this is when you can pick up opportunities. So
100%. Yeah,
yeah,
100%. The deals that I did personally during COVID and just after COVID are insane. How
yeah,
cheap some of the properties I bought was, like you say, best time to buy. But because I'd
yeah.
educated myself and read every property and investment book in the world, I
Mm,
was ready. I was ready. I'd set myself. Obviously, I
yeah.
didn't see it coming, but when it did come, it flicked a switch in my brain. Like not let's stand off. It was like let's go shopping.
Yeah. And look, okay, you say you didn't prepare yourself. No one was to expect COVID, but you do prepare yourself for a change in circumstance, a change in
Yeah,
market. Your,
yeah,
your COVID being one of them, has said Brexit being another. All these things that create a lot of noise in the media. It's just about kind of sifting through that noise and go, okay, where's the risk here? Where's the opportunity? Can I
yeah,
pick deals that are low risk and high reward?
yeah. I think you'll get pretty far just by ignoring what the media are telling you. If you do the opposite to what the media are telling you, it's not as black and white as that, is it? But as you get
Yeah,
older, you get more and more skeptical. I do anyway, and
I know.
it does come to a point where you think whatever the media are telling you should do, just literally do the opposite.
I mean, I've not watched the news in it comfortably over a decade, probably around a decade actually. When I start
Yeah,
getting into
me
property,
too.
and you do
Yeah,
start to realize, people go, well, how do you find out when, well, things are happening in the world? Well, everyone who watches the news just tell me, so I don't
exactly.
need
Yeah,
to I don't
yeah,
need to sift through all the nonsense on the way.
yeah. I'm exactly the same, mate. Yeah. So last thing on the UK, then, where do you see the main
Yeah.
opportunities on the horizon in the UK currently?
Do you know what? It's changed recently. I think that London has always been an area where prices have been very difficult and it's been hard to get into, and it's been such a strong market that I think there've been challenges to find the right kind of deals. I've always been kind of north of the country, but I would say that London at the moment is bringing some opportunities that it perhaps hasn't brought in a number of years.
Mhm.
So I think be open to areas like that. Look, there always going to be opportunity in the UK. I think, me personally, if you're looking to invest in the UK, be willing to hold it forever, or at least for a foreseeable amount of time. I think, the Dubai and the Middle East market's a bit different. It's more it's more trading. So you're seeing people try and buy it low and sell high, and that can happen very quickly over a short period of time. Don't think you get that in the UK. But you know that if you are willing to hold the property for 30 years time, for me, I'm looking at it now and go, right, if I hold my portfolio until 55 and just let it continue to grow in value, generate rental income, even if I was to do nothing between now and 55, the pension sorted, the retirement fund sorted. And I think that's the attitude that you need to have with UK property.
Yeah. Do you still hold any property in your own name in the UK? Or is it all
No,
limited companies now?
it's all limited company.
How did you handle
Yeah.
that? Did you transition any across to your companies, or did you just flog them?
Yeah, I mean, it happened fairly early in my investment journey. So we just sold the ones that we had. If it had been different and I'd built a larger portfolio, we would have looked into, um, setting up a limited company, holding the asset for a certain period of time and making that transition across, which can be done with the right legal advice. But for us, it just made sense to sell it, take out the profit. As I said, the capital gains allowance also was better than it is now. So you could utilize the allowances and then actually just reinvest in property from a limited company perspective as well.
Yeah.
On that, just on the opportunities as well, is where properties have been owned in limited company structures for a longer period of time now. The other opportunities that I'm starting to see is buying portfolios, but not buying the assets, actually buying the limited company.
Yeah, I see a lot of that now. Yeah.
So, if you're buying with multiple dwellings relief as well, being abolished. So if you're not at the 6-unit number, if you're looking at 4 or 5 properties, the stamp duty can be, extortionate because they're adding all of the prices together. But if you then go and buy the limited company and you're buying the shares, you pay 0.5% stamp duty.
Yeah.
That's a huge saving on what really is just a dead cost. So yeah, little kind of niche models like that are definitely something to keep an eye out.
Yeah. There's also incorporation relief as well, which a lot of people don't utilize, which I'm looking into now. So I own 8 properties in
Yep.
my own name. I am going to sell a
Okay.
couple off, but with incorporation relief, if you do have a sizable portfolio in your own name, you can justify to HMRC that you're spending at least, or your property manager is spending at least 20 hours a week on managing that portfolio. You
Right.
can transition the property from your own name into your limited company, capital gains tax free. It's not capital gains tax
Brilliant.
free, actually. You're just deferring the capital gains. So you will
Sure.
pay the capital gains further down the line when you do liquidate the asset.
Yeah.
But in the short term, you can get the benefits of mortgage cost relief by transitioning
Yeah.
into your limited company.
And that's fascinating. I'm guessing then that you move it into limited company, you could refinance those properties and that wouldn't trigger the capital gain.
It would not debt
No.
is tax free, isn't it? So it wouldn't
Yeah,
trigger
of course.
any gain whatsoever. You would, like I say, you're just deferring the gain. But if you sold them in 30 years' time from your limited
Yeah.
company, you would pay personal capital gains.
Yeah.
However, within that period, you'll have had so much benefit from the mortgage cost relief.
Yeah. Or just never sell them.
Yeah,
Move them
well,
into a
yeah,
limited company, refinance, pull that money out tax free
exactly.
and tax deductible then, your monthly payments because you've got it in your limited company and use that to go
Yeah.
and invest more.
Yeah,
It's just awesome. There's so much stuff. It's just that's
Yeah.
the thing I love about it is, that's new to me. I've been doing this a long time, but wasn't aware of that little structure. And
Yeah.
you talk to someone who knows a little bit more than you or knows something different to you, and you just develop and learn, and you can just
Yeah.
like you'll never know it all. That's what I
No.
love about it, right?
No,
You're never gonna know it all.
No. No, you don't know what you don't know. That's it's
Yeah.
the old saying, isn't it? It's so true. I want to speak to you about Dubai, mate, because it's
Yeah.
a place that excites me. Obviously,
Yeah.
last time I was there, we caught up. You've been there for 4 years now, which is mental
Yeah.
how quickly that's gone.
Yeah.
It seems such an exciting place, and I know everybody seems to be either an estate agent over there now or a
Yeah.
property investor. I know lads that were like working in retail over here, and they're flying as estate agents in Dubai now. And I
Yeah.
look at them Instagram, and I'm like, this can't be genuine.
Mm.
The more people I speak to, it's becoming apparent that actually it is a genuine thing that people are making fortunes in property over there at the moment.
Yeah, it's interesting because I work very closely with some of the local real estate guys and also the wealth managers over here because they actually have a huge client base of people that are also looking. So if you think about it, someone that's got a base of investors invested in Dubai, more volatility, potentially higher returns, depending on how you look at it, but then wants to diversify their portfolio. They have a number of clients that actually go, well, I'm looking to invest in UK property, and we work closely together. They introduce those clients to me, and then I support them on the UK side, because that's where my knowledge is. But yeah, you're absolutely right. There's a lot of people making money very quickly here. You just have to be careful, because I think what happens when people see people making money really quick, you just jump in and you kind of forget all the red flags, you ignore all the warning signs, and you just pump money in. We've seen what can happen in any market, really, not just property, but any asset class when that happens. So yes, there is opportunity in Dubai. It's a very different model to the UK.
Yeah, very volatile. From an outsider looking in, it seems a very volatile market. Like you say, a lot of short to medium term opportunities. Like you say, a lot of trading going on. But from a long term hold perspective, probably not the place.
Yeah, and look, sometimes you have to look at the small details that actually tell you so much. So I'll give you an example of one thing that I've noticed is that in the UK, you can have interest only mortgage. Over here in the UAE, you can't. So you then have to go a bit deeper and think, well, why would one place lend you money on an interest only basis, and why would one place expect you to pay down the capital? Now, this isn't factual, this is more my opinion, but for me, I'm looking at it and going, a bank in the UK knows that if you own that property and you hold it for 25 years, that property is going to be worth way more than it is now. So the bank's risk is very low. They can still give you, they'll give you the loan, not expect you to pay that down, because they've always got security against the property. It's going to be worth more. Can you say that in not just the UAE, but many countries where interest only isn't feasible? Probably not. They don't have that certainty. So you are then looking at something that's maybe a shorter term. I mean, the renovation model here, you buy, renovate, and sell, for me, is the numbers are just absolutely incredible compared to the UK, as an example.
What numbers do you mean? The refurb numbers?
Just look, your fees associated are much lower. Okay. So if you think about deals where, you're buying something in the UK, you're buying it, you're having to use bridging finance because you can't use a traditional mortgage, which isn't the case over here. You can buy with a normal mortgage, rip out the property and renovate and sell. Your holding costs are much lower. Your renovation costs, generally speaking, are lower, and the uplift is greater. So that is a model that really interests me over here. Back home, it's more about either buying, adding value and refinancing, or where I've got a bit further on in my investment journey, and I prefer to deal with the portfolio more at arm's length now, rather than be kind of hands-on and in it. If I can buy something that's ready to go, is going to give me a solid return, I'm happy to do that. Okay, it's not giving me the 50% ROIs that I was getting when I started, but I'm also putting in way less effort, and I'm not having to raise the capital to do those deals. So it changes kind of as you develop, and your personal circumstances will determine what kind of deals you need to do.
Yeah, of course. So how are you what services are you providing to Dubai-based investors then for UK property?
So it's really helping people invest in UK property from overseas. Now, I actually had that experience before I moved to Dubai. Living in London, I wasn't investing in London. I was away from my investment area. I've not been, look, I know how kind of hands-on you are and skilled you are at that. I bring absolutely nothing to a building site. I know a fuck all is probably a polite way of saying it. Absolutely nothing. So for me, it was about structuring the deal in the right way, running the numbers, negotiating, raising the funds. That's kind of where my skill set was. And then bringing in the right people to do the bit on the ground. So when I made that move to Dubai, which actually was property related as well. So I don't know if you know this, I don't know if I shared this before, but
I was just going to ask you about that actually, yeah.
Yeah. So when I was living in the UK, obviously just investing in property full time at that point, fortunately, it was just before Christmas. Boris came on the TV. Actually, that's a lie. That's the only time I watched the news was when they made their announcements during COVID to work out when lockdown was going to end. Boris basically said, you can't go and see your family at Christmas. And as of tomorrow, international travel is banned. So me, my wife, my son, who was 18 months at the time, we packed our bags, went to the airport, flew to Dubai, and thought we'll just work it out. And do you know what? Like, you know, property is not always easy. It has plenty of challenges and tough times on the way. But if it wasn't for property, I would not have just been able to pack my bag and jump on a flight, because I'd have been like, well, what's my boss going to say? What about my leave? What about my job? I didn't have to consider any of that. I just went because that was the right thing for our family at the time. And then as we just stayed here, enjoyed it more and more and more, you know, we just realized that this was a place that we enjoyed spending time on. Sorry, I forgot your original question, but I thought that was
yeah. No, I was going to say, because we were in touch quite regularly at the time when you did that. And I was talking to you on WhatsApp, and I think it was the day before you left, and you were telling me what you were doing, and I thought you were absolutely mental. I'll be honest, especially with the wife and the little one. And but mate, it worked out, hasn't it? It's
yeah,
you got to take a
100%.
gamble.
Look, we just looked at, we couldn't deal with another lockdown. It was tough. You know, this is probably the longest I've sat down for a while. So I'm up and about, you know, being in that enclosed space, and particularly in London, where you're in an apartment. It was just so tough. It was so tough. And, you know, to do that again, I just like, no, we've got to go. What was the worst that could happen? I don't know. I'd be locked down in another country.
Yeah, so you'd said, you touched on, you had experience of already sort of linking up a Dubai-based investor to the UK property market, and that's how you got sort of started.
Yes. So sorry. So I was where I was investing in London and investing at different parts of the UK. Actually, then living in Dubai and running the business from there remotely wasn't hugely different. So we came over here, we relaxed for a while. Then we started to get more involved back into the kind of the property and the business side of things. And it was just as we start to talk to people, the realization there's so many people over here, not just British expats, although that is part of it, foreign nationals, people that have never been to the UK. And it was just, I think it was educating people. So people didn't realize that you could buy a property if you have never been to the UK. People didn't realize that you could get a mortgage. I've worked with clients all over the Middle East and even in the Far East who have never been to the UK. They may never go to the UK, but they've realized that the investment model there works. So how do we get the right deals for them? How do we structure the finance for them? How do they get in touch with the right solicitors, the right law firms? Because again, here in the Middle East, you don't buy the property through a solicitor. So it's just helping people understand the differences and just enabling them to see that it can be done remotely and give them the returns that they need.
How's that conducted then without solicitors?
So basically, if you have a buyer and a seller, everything goes through two people, the DLD, which is the Dubai Land Department, and RERA, which is the real estate. Can't remember the other part of the acronym, but effectively everything goes through there, goes into escrow account. They have everything on file. So if you think about the traditional searches that you do in the UK that take weeks and you're waiting for your flood risk and, you know, all that kind of stuff, it's just all there ready to go. So all of those files sat there we'll go down a rabbit hole on that one, but as it should be. If you're buying with a mortgage or buying from someone with a mortgage, that can slow down the process. But if you are buying in cash, that transaction can happen in 48 hours.
Wow.
48 hours from offer accepted, documents signed, funds transferred into an escrow account. So you still have an escrow account transferred to the seller, transaction takes place, and then it sits. None of this, let's wait 2 months for your name to get on the title deeds nonsense. It's done.
It's mental, isn't it? It's absolutely mental. the conveyancing
It's, yeah.
process in the UK is just ridiculous.
The thing is with Dubai, right? People see the glitz and the glamour, and I think that when I come over on holiday, I probably didn't appreciate what it has to offer in terms of a place to live. But it's a place that's so forward thinking, and a place that actually we can learn a lot from. Whereas maybe people that are based in the UK, never been to Dubai, think it's just a backwards country. Now, look, every place has their challenges, but the purchasing process is very different, and that's something that I have to manage with clients based over here. If they've bought in the UAE before, I say, look, the process, by the way, isn't as straightforward. You're going to have some challenges along the way. Interestingly, there are some benefits to that, and I know you probably won't feel it, and I don't, when you're going through that process. But in times of uncertainty, because things can be moved so quickly in other parts of the world, people will offload, and this is where you see kind of property stand strong against things like stocks and shares. So when there's market uncertainty, you see the stock price plummet because you can go on your app and you can sell your stocks. You can't do that in property. It's stickier, it's harder, which actually gives it a bit more consistency. So be careful what you wish for, would be something to say.
Yeah, it's almost quite a liquid asset over in Dubai then, if you can move it,
Yeah.
with that sort of time period, yeah.
Yeah, and that's where I think you see the volatility, right? Because when the market's hot, people buy. People, market's not so hot, people are selling. And as you said, it's more liquid. So, pros and cons to each.
Yeah, no, it's a great point. A great point. So you think you'll be over there for the foreseeable then, in the medium term?
Yeah, I do. The longer I spend here, the more I enjoy it. Like I said, I've been here on holiday. It's a great place to come over and party, and you've got your nice restaurants and stuff. But I think when I was on holiday, I didn't realize that it is a place full of very normal people, but people that everyone here has left somewhere else. So it's a friendly environment. I mean, I moved to West London when I was very young, and you can't go in the pub and sit on a group of lads' tables because they all went to school together. They all know each other. It's very cliquey. Over here, no one's from here. So there's kind of that appreciation that everyone was new at some point. Some people are going to leave. Some people are going to stay. My son goes to a French English bilingual school. He speaks 3 languages now. He's 5. Well, here I am at 33, still learning English, and it's just got it all. Really, it's got it all.
Yeah. Is there a big property community over there? Is there network events you can go to? Is there a sort of big UK property community?
I think for me, the best way to network over here is just to get out there and meet people, because it is so easy just to get chatting to people. Like I said, play a lot of golf, go to the pub, get chatting to someone. The fact that people aren't paying tax over here tends to mean that they do have a pot of capital sat there ready to go. The salaries and the earnings over here are very good. You have to be on some form of visa, whether that's self-sponsored through your own business or working for a company. So everyone's working over here. People are earning good money. So it's not networking events as such, although I do run kind of some of those events with people that I work with, the local real estate guys or the wealth managers, IFAs, but just getting out there and talking to people. You just meet some absolutely crazy people over here in terms of the wealth that they've got and the business that they've done. It's just on another level.
Yeah, I can imagine.
It just, it really is. It's crazy.
How easy is it to, without giving me too much information, how easy is it to navigate the tax sort of landscape with owning UK assets but living in a tax-free environment? Is it, you just leave it to your accountant to sort? Is it difficult to navigate?
I'll try and tell my accountant that what I think is fair and reasonable, and he will tell me, yes, Elliot, that's fair and reasonable, or no, that's not going to be an option. I think the limited company structure helps, because whether you are a director based in the UK or a director based overseas, if you look at the corporation tax element, nothing really changes. Obviously I work in a property environment over here in terms of, providing consultancy and helping people based over here invest in the UK. That is money that is being earned offshore in the UAE. That is then taxed at the local tax rate over here, which we know is zero. So you do have to navigate, you do have to get it right. You do need to get the correct advice, because otherwise you're going to get stung. But owning UK property and living in a place that has zero income tax is just makes a huge difference.
Yeah, sounds good to me.
Yeah. When you come in.
One day. I keep saying, I keep promising, don't I? It's I think with this October budget's like, mate, I could be there end of October. I think the way it's sounding. But what's the end goal for you, mate? What's the end goal? Do you have one, or are you just?
Yeah, do you know what? For me, some people live to work, and it's all about the success of the business and what it can achieve. I'm all about lifestyle. It's about being able to put my kid into a good school, being able to make sure that I can take him places. We're huge on traveling. So whilst we live in Dubai, we still love to travel. It always makes me laugh when he jumps on the plane and just puts his belt on and, just completely chilled. And there's other kids having a meltdown because he's used to it now. We did treat him to his first business class flight this year.
Brilliant.
Which is quite funny. Just like the seat's twice the size of him and he's sat there.
Yeah.
So look, the end goal is to keep enjoying life, being able to support him in whatever he wants to do, instilling work ethic in him, not realizing that, not that he never has to work a day in his life, of course he will, but, realizing that, good work ethic, putting the hard graft in the right places, is still going to pay dividends. Travel the world, and enjoy myself, really. And I think I'll probably get to the stage now where kind of got to the level we're at. We're quite happy, comfortable, and kind of getting that kind of itchy feeling again to push on and do something a bit wild and wacky and take it to the next level.
Brilliant. Anything in mind? Anything that springs to mind immediately?
Yeah, I'm dipping my toe over here. I'll talk about the renovation world over here. In a very niche model, which effectively is multi-million-pound villas on the Palm.
Oh wow!
Buying, renovating, and selling. It won't be a £66,000 purchase. Yeah, I can tell you that.
Definitely
that
not.
might get the front door. But in all seriousness, there's a huge opportunity here. I've been working on it with a couple of people close to me. They've got some experience in it. And I think that it's always be willing to work with other people who've done what you're going to do, whether that's from a hands-off investment, whether it's a consultant, coach, joint venture partner, tap into people that have got that experience. So yeah, that's kind of where it's at now for me personally, kind of the bigger deals, bigger numbers over here.
Nice environment to work in that as well. Like you work at that end of the market as well.
Well, I mean, look, do you know what? So we've started the process, and we've had some investors that are looking to raise. So again, it'll be the same model. Go out, raise the funds, pay them a fixed return, or do something on a joint venture model. We've had some big chunks of money offered to us already, and I just say to people, if I can raise the funds to buy a care home in Grimsby, then I can raise the funds to buy a villa on the Palm, because the CGIs and the principle is the same. I think the attitude to the investors is slightly different. They like to be part of something that's sexy, that's cool, as do I. But for me, I'm more about the numbers and the returns. People like to tell their mates they've invested into a chunk of a villa here, or whatever it is. So principle's the same, running the numbers, does it stack up, invest in a strategy that works, except that you're investing in a market that is more volatile, which is why the margins have to be bigger. Because if the market does take a turn or change, you need to make sure that you're protected. The people that have invested in the deal are protected as well. So the model stays the same. The way you do it changes,
Mhm.
but it's all houses, right? It's all
Houses,
houses
yeah.
and making sure you got more money than you started with at the beginning of the project.
Yeah. Love it. That's pretty exciting. I look forward to keeping an eye on that, mate, as you move along with that. So amazing journey, mate. Absolutely brilliant to sit and listen to it today.
Cheers.
If you could start all over again,
Yeah.
is there anything you would change?
Yeah. One thing comes to mind, and it really is about caring less from an earlier stage. Just always so worried about, I don't want to tell someone doing that, the idea of raising money, asking someone if they want to invest. What if they say no? What if they think I'm, taking their money? People don't like Liverpool, what about people? And you know what? It held me back for such a long period of time, and just learning not to care because people have an opinion either way. Well, two areas. I think people have an opinion either way, and also people care less than you probably think. I ask someone for money and they say no. They've forgotten about it 2 weeks down the line. But me, 10 years ago, that would have been playing on my mind for a year. I've asked that person for money. They said no. What did I do wrong? Don't they like me? And you send yourself down a bit of a rabbit hole. So, just kind of having that attitude of get on with it and not worry too much about what people think. Still be a good person. I'm not saying that you should just be a complete dick to everybody, but don't let other people's opinions stop you from doing what you want to do. That's something that I changed, and if I changed that, I would have got to the level I'm at now probably 4 years earlier, which then means I could have been at the next stage. Hindsight's a wonderful thing, right? It's a learning process.
Yeah, and we can all say that, mate. We can all say that, and it's worrying about people's opinions of it. It's human nature, isn't it? Unfortunately, you do learn if you get older that half the time, like you said, half the time people aren't even thinking about you anyway.
No,
That's
that's
the crux of it. Last question, buddy. Best piece of advice as you sit here today. I'm a brand new property investor. I come and meet you. Hi, Elliot. What's the best bit of advice you could give me as a new property investor?
Get on with it. Get the fuck on with it. You slow yourself down by so many what ifs. And as a property investor, and I'd probably expand this to business owner, because look, you've got your property portfolio, but you are monetizing, as am I, monetizing property in so many different areas, not just about the investing. It's all the things that you can do that come along with it as well. Is that you can just slow yourself down so much by what if this, what if this, what if this. And as a business owner, property investor, you're never going to have all of the answers. Yeah, and I can categorically say that because 10 years on, I still don't have all the answers. And actually, the more you grow it and the more you do, the more questions that you raise. So it's a bit cliche, but it is just about taking that step, taking one foot after the other, getting on with it, not doing it in a way where you're learning on the job to the point where you're putting yourself at financial risk. But there's a very easy way to remove all risk, is just don't do anything. But then what you're gaining.
Yeah, exactly, mate. Nailed it. Absolutely nailed it. Mate, I'll say it again. It's been an absolute pleasure.
No, thanks for having me on.
No problem at all. I think people listening to this will take a lot of inspiration, a lot of knowledge, a lot of golden nuggets from it. So I really appreciate it, mate. Thank you for coming on.
Awesome. Thank you for having me.
No worries at all. Until next time, if you are listening or watching this online, please do follow, subscribe, and share. It really does help. Until next time, take care.